Well, greetings and welcome once again to the Foundation Green series of modules. This time, we are going to be looking at water and its nexus or connect with energy and with carbon. Well, let's look at a city. I have taken, in this instance, Bangalore or Chennai, because both of these cities have about 1 crore as population, 10 million people approximately, could be another million or so. Now, both these cities receive about half the water supplied by the water supply board. The other half comes from tankers. Now, if you're living in, say, Nashik or Aurangabad, Pune, Bombay, Delhi, any of these cities, you'll typically find in almost all these cases that about 50% of the supply comes from the Jal Nigam or the water supply board, and the other half is taken by consumers like you and I, from bore wells or from tankers which supply water to your apartment or your office and such places. Well, what it means is that there are two kinds of supply that happens in your home, or three types. One is where you have a bore well and you draw water and there is energy that you consume. You ask a tanker to supply water to your house and there is energy consumed of two kinds again. The tanker goes to some place, draws deep aquifer water or deep borewell water, and then it transports it with diesel, and therefore there is energy consumed by diesel. The third is, of course, that the water supply board has pumped water from a long distance of a river in different stages at different pumping stations, and eventually you open your tap and you get water. Well, in each of these cases, water, as you can see, is not about water alone. Water is also about energy. And when you consume energy, you actually consume carbon. And that is the nexus. If you look at the fourth bullet, if a city like Chennai has 200 crore liters, that is, we take a per capita consumption of 200 liters to a person, which is not only what you consume. It's also the industries in the city that consume water, the hospitals, the hotels, many other places like that which consume water. And therefore, for the city, at about 1 crore people and a per capita of about 200 liters, you have about 200 crore liters a day as demand. Now you multiply that by 5 days, and there is a reason for me to say that. We work a math of 1,000 crore liters for every 5 days. Remember that. Now, why we did this is, it then helps us understand in the next few minutes the matrix of computations for every 1,000 crore liters, which is the consumption, as I said, for 5 days. Now, the fourth bullet also says that for every 1,000 crore liters, there is 60 million units of power at 6 units of power for every 1,000 liters. Therefore, if I were to say 200 crore liters, you have to knock the 3 zeros away and then multiply that by 6 units, and you will get to the total number of electrical units or electrical units equivalent that is being consumed for every 1,000 liters of water. And that is only user-end energy. That is, at the point of your consumption in your house or whatever the building is, you're consuming power at 6 units to 1,000 liters. However, look at the fifth bullet. It says at 4x. What it means is that for anybody to get power at an end use point, somebody has to generate power at a thermal station. And in India, 67 to 70% of our power comes from coal-based thermal plants. And thanks to transmission and distribution losses, thanks to conversion from AC to DC and again from DC to AC, look at your laptop. Why is it so heavy? The unit called SMPS, which transforms AC power to DC, is embedded in your laptop, right? It can't work on AC power. It works on a transformed DC power. And therefore, many of our consumption appliances use DC power. Now, what does all of this mean in terms of the demand for water per day, the energy that you use, The money, of course, that you spend on either water or on the electricity that consumes water, and the consumption of carbon or the emission of carbon thanks to energy use. Look at this table. Oh, don't be intimidated by this. It's a very simple table. What we did is we took those 5 days, 200 crore liters into 5 is 1,000 crore liters. Pretty simple, right? And then, as I told you earlier, for every 1,000 liters or 1 kiloliter of water, we have about 6 units of actual end user or user end energy, whether it's at the water board or at your home or something that the tanker chap uses. So what does that mean to you? Every such 1,000 liters of water consumes approximately 6 units. We have assumed this on the basis of our own experience and understanding of how such units of power are consumed by either a deep bore well or in the long haul of water, from a river source by a water supply board. And therefore, it takes us to what we call the 4X syndrome. And I shall explain what 4X syndrome is at the end of this module. Remember, therefore, that those 60 million units convert actually to 240 million units of power, or if I were to take instead of 1,000 crore liters, 100 crore liters, this would be 24 million units, right? As simple as that. Now, at that 240 million units for 1,000 crore liters, look at my cursor. For 1,000 crore liters, the source energy consumed at 4X is 240 million units. You got that? Now, if I were to basically talk in terms of, let's say, simply the money that you pay for the electricity that you use at your user end, that will be, this 60 million units. It won't be 240 million units. It will be the 60 million units multiplied by 6 rupees, as I told you, as the assumption goes for us. And therefore, it is 360 million units. Now, this 6 rupees could be 3 rupees if you are in Delhi. It could be even less in some union territories like Pondicherry, for instance. Therefore, this assumption of 6 has to change depending upon the city in which you belong. Do some research. Go back to your browser and ask what the unit tariff consumption tariff rate is in your city, and you'll see how this math that I have shown you here as a case study can be therefore worked by you. Now, if I take those 1,000 crore liters multiplied by that 6, I will get to 36 crore liters as a math on this last row that I have shown here of 360 million, right? This conversion of water liters into kiloliters, or at 1,000 liters, that is, multiply that by the unit of consumption, which is 6 units per 1,000 liters, and then take the rupees value for the energy consumed. And at the same time, do the carbon value at 4X. That is the basic process for you to understand this connect between water, energy, carbon, and the money value of the spending that you do. Now look at the demand and the supply equation here. As I said, we have taken Bangalore. This could be, I could replace that with Chennai, because more or less the two cities have the same quantum of consumption per day at about 200 crore liters. Very simple. Take your 365 days. For every 5-day slab, as I told you, it is 1,000 crore liters. So there is therefore 73 slabs, and that's about 73,000 crore liters. Now, most often when you read newspapers, they will talk in terms of million liters or billion liters. You knock 2 zeros off the 73,000 crores, and that will be 730 billion liters. Divided by 365, we'll get approximately 2 billion liters, or 2,000 million liters of demand every day that a city like Chennai or a Bangalore has. Okay, so now we go back to this Bangalore total daily demand or Chennai's daily demand of 200 crore liters. If you look at the websites and make a cursory search, a very basic search, ask for what is the daily demand and what is the daily supply from the water supply board. Kaveri is the river that supplies Bangalore. In Chennai, the source of water is slightly different. You will find that out if you want to. Chennai doesn't have a river. It has 3 rain-fed reservoirs. Please look at that if you want to do that. We will also share with you a few links to reports and features that I have written and many other professionals who belong to the Alltech Foundation have written, which will help you understand how this connect with the long distance source of water has happened over the last 100 years or so in cities like these. Now, look at this story, a fantastic story. You got officially, if you look at the website, and this is June 2022, you can look at the figures for water that has come from this river called Kaveri. Approximately 150 crore liters is what the Water Supply Board claims or says it is offering every day. Now, what the Water Supply Board or the government itself says, the state government says, is that there is about 40% that is lost in leakages. That is water that is never billed. That the water that is treated and the cost that the Water Supply Board incurs is for 150 crore liters, but what is billed is less by about 60 crore liters. And that's 90 crore liters in effect that is getting to be billed. And this 40% or 60 crore liters out of 150 crore liters is just lost. And that is not the story of any one city. You can take any city across India. Indeed, you can look at cities like say Toronto, for instance, or Chicago. Many other cities across the world have this challenge of leakages accounting for nearly 40% as losses go. There we are. To cover the leakage losses from what is supplied by the Water Supply Board, I say Kaveri here, but read that as the Water Supply Board. You will see that this 60 crore liters has to be matched somewhere because actually the end consumer in the city is not receiving it. It's being lost somewhere in leakages and distribution. And what happens therefore on the math is that apart from this 200, for meeting this 200 crore, we have only 150 minus 60, about 90 crore. And this 110 crore, that is 200 minus 90, 110 crore liters is being drawn by you and I and many, hundreds of thousands of people from bowels. While they do that, because the total deficit has to be met, what in effect has happened is this 90 is also something that you've got to reckon with, right? So you've got this 200 crore liter, 150 crore minus 60, only 90, 90 plus, therefore this 110, 190 plus 60. You see, the math shows that somewhere along the line, this 60 crore liters of supply is added to this 200 crore liters at the billing level, at the cost of water. Last calculation, or well, you could look at it as calculation of the cost of water. 6 rupees per unit for 10,000 liters, 10,000 liters, that's 10 million liters, is about 360,000 rupees. And that's 1 crore approximately as liters go. And this is basic math. I don't have to explain this. I'm taking this 360,000 as 0.36 million, and I'm multiplying that by 200 crore, and I get 72 million rupees, or 7.2 crores. However, because of that 40% loss on that component of water that is supplied by Kaveri, the loss in effect, or the cost in effect, is 9.3 crore rupees to every 1,000 crore liters. Now, what does this mean to all of you if you're architects or engineers or even graduates of commerce and science? Every day the city uses water, there is a loss that is being chalked up, that is being registered by either the government or by you and I in terms of what we spend to secure water in our homes. Does that make for security of water? Are there solutions for this that we can explore? Well, part of Foundation Green's program is to see how we can look at this serious challenge and find mitigation for it, find solutions for this. Source energy loss calculation. This is important for you to understand. No matter what kind of discipline you come from, if your interest lies in understanding water and the management of water, you will have to understand this. Well, for 1 crore liters, going back to what we said in the last maybe 7-8 minutes now, 60,000 units of power is being consumed. Grid energy, that is at the source level, what is being provided by the grid or the source energy itself, therefore, is 240,000 units. And therefore, at a level of 1,000 crore liters, it becomes 240 million units of energy. Stop there. If you are consuming 240 million units of power, there is a basic ratio which tells us that, I'll come back to that, at 1.1 as a ratio of carbon to energy, this 240 million, you add another 1.1 to that, or 10%, and that becomes 264 million units, right? That is the carbon kgs. Remove 3 zeros and you will see that you get to something like 264,000 tons, carbon tons, that is spent for every 1,000 crore liters. Now that 1,000 crore liters, like I said, on the 5-day slab, means that you multiply that by say 70 or 73, and that is the total carbon tons that you use in a year in a city of about 1 crore people and with a demand of 200 crore liters. How India can beat the target 2030? Carbon emission, the Prime Minister Modi has said, set the target for 2030 at 2.5 billion tons, and people are talking of spending a lot of money for securing this target. My approach is this, and you will see why this makes sense to all of you. And if each of you turns out to be a certified water professional, you can contribute to this. Listen to this carefully over the next 3-4 minutes. We have put this in great detail, and a lot of it will be available for you when you take your next set of questions or such things on this modules that we are presenting to you. Every 1,000 liters, 6 units of power, whether it's long distance or deep borewells and all that, you heard that. At the grid level, therefore, that 6 million units becomes 24, 6 units becomes 24 units to every 1,000 liters at the 4x. AC/DC, all this was explained. By global ratio, as I said earlier, it's 1.1, and therefore that 24 crore units becomes 26.4. And in terms of tons, as a million tons go, it becomes 2.64 million tons equivalent. By global carbon norm of 1.1 as a ratio, we get 26.4 crore carbon kgs for every 1,000 crore liters, okay? And therefore we have to multiply that by 70. I could have multiplied that by 73 as 5-day slabs go and reach this 185 to 190 million ton equivalent. Therefore, between the two cities, we are reaching something like 370 to 380 million tons. Remember, this means that it's about 0.38 or 0.4 billion tons. The target for the country for 10 years till 2030, well, 8 years is left, is 2.5 billion tons. Bombay and Delhi account for about 370 million tons equivalent on the same mathematics that I talked about. Therefore, between just 4 cities of Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, and New Delhi, we have about 1,100 million ton equivalent that is being used for water alone, or that's 1 billion tons. If we are able to bring this down by 50% as water consumption goes with different solutions that we adopt, we will then have about 500 million tons every year. Into 8 years, that's 4 billion tons of million tons equivalent, 4 billion tons of water that is being saved, right? Now, The financial saving, it's an easier one. If you're spending whatever you're spending in your house today, and if you had solutions which brought it down by 50%, well, you're gaining that much as money. And at the larger level of 1,000 crore liters, today it is 36 crore liters, 36 crore rupees. Now this can fall nearly by half to 18 crore or 20 crore rupees if only you worked on it. You worked on it is the state government, all the other different stakeholders, as well as users and consumers like us. The daily demand in Bangalore is 200 crores. Fund consumption, as I said, is 1,000 crore. The financial cost, therefore, on those slabs for the year works out to about 2,600 crore rupees. That's your total water cost, financial terms today. This doesn't require too much explanation. A lot of it has already been said. This is just a recap of that. If at the carbon factor of 1.1, I take this 240 million, we reach 264 billion, as I said earlier, and that's 0.26 or 1/4 billion tons of carbon that is consumed for every 1,000 crore liters, right? Now, you can do the math from here. You can see how, if you are a smart water professional, you are contributing to the country's effort to reduce its carbon emission. The rest of it here are just a recap of all that we discussed so far, and we just put that down in a table. Now, this table could be used by you as a format, as a template for working out the math for your city. Could be Pune, could be Nashik, could be something else. Could be a large city like Bombay too, right? Which has twice the consumption of a Bangalore or a Chennai. This is the last part of it. I'd like you to understand how, if there is 5 units that you consume somewhere, at this ratios, you look at this, it goes up to 4x. Now, the primary energy consumption on coal is about, if it's 100 kilos, in terms of heat, power, and conversion from coal, it comes down by as much to about 5.6. And from here, it falls again, thanks to the losses in transmission and distribution. And from there at the end use, it falls to about 4. And this ratio of, therefore, as a unit of saving here, it can bring a drop here of 4 times. This is better explained with a whole series of other slides, but I shall keep this simple for you to only remember that 4x is what it can be in terms of the losses of energy that you can save if you saved in the consumption of energy in your home by just 1 unit. Well, that's it for this module. I have some questions left for you. These are questions that will also be part of a Google form that will be sent to you. There'll be many more, but this is just to give you an idea of the kind of understanding we hope that you have secured from this module. What is the benchmark for carbon kg? Well, it was discussed in this session. How much of India's electricity supply comes from coal-based? I mentioned a few things, but you could do your research on that, basic research on the web. How much coal is used for every 1,000 units of power generated? We didn't discuss that, but I'd like you to do the research on it. And therefore, this other question of how much for every megawatt hour of power in a thermal plant is water consumed? There is embodied water that is being consumed for washing coal, for different processes, including putting them into boiler plants to generate steam. From steam, we generate electricity. So this process consumes a great deal of water. How much is that water? You could do the homework upon that. How much water does 1 megawatt hour, that is for every 1,000 units of power generation at a thermal plant? How much is that? What is end use and source energy was also explained. I'd like you to see if we can address some of these questions in the Google forms that will be sent to you. That's it for this session of the Foundation Dream program of the Outtake Foundation. We'll be with you soon again with another module. Thank you.